Hello garden photo friends. It is the beginning of July in my garden and it's time to see your vegetable crops growing in full speed. However, I cannot brag for them growing like crazy right now. Why? I ask myself the same question. What's going on? Why my crops are very slow in growth? Why they stay still and waiting for some help. Mind you, they don't have a lack of rains. The rains come every second or the third day. It's only last 3 days we don't have rains. Otherwise, we have a good supply of rainwater. Also, I have my garden beds covered with mulch. As you can see here behind me, all of my beds are covered with the leaf mulch. So the water does not evaporate from the soil surface very quickly. Even if I dig a little bit the soil, it doesn't make so much effort to see that the soil is still wet underneath. I'll show you closer here. Look at these tomatoes that do not look healthy. They stay very small, they grow very slowly. If I dig a little bit here, I see the soil as moist underneath. See, this one is, look, this one is moist soil. Yes, it's heavy of clay, but it also has a good amount of the organic material. That's why it's easy to catch the worms here. My question still remains, why my crops do not grow as fast as I've seen they do on the community gardens and all on the other gardeners' yards. They kind of proliferated quite a lot, but on my patch they still are slow in growth. So if you also cannot push a shovel into a garden soil, you might have the same issue. The issue is that the soil is compacted and we have to loosen up the soil so that the water and air will penetrate through it as much as possible and as quickly as possible. The soil itself consists of three elements: air, water, and solid materials. Only 50% of the soil should be in solid materials. If this percentage increases, the soil becomes compact. Of course, you cannot calculate the percentage, but it's all within your abilities to lose the soil. If we look at the solid materials, they consist of mineral parts like sand and rocks, as well as the clay, and another part which is more substantial and more necessary one is organic materials. Organic materials are those living things that supply the soil with the nutritional elements. Those are all bacteria, microorganisms, insects, worms, and the organic materials that you supply your soil with. Those like compost, like mulching. I just shortly remind that I'm speaking only about organic gardening. I don't consider any chemical fertilizing. I play with the natural fertilizing, but nothing chemical is acceptable in my garden. So why soil compaction is a problem? First of all, it becomes that there is not adequate space for the roots to penetrate into the soil and reach all of the nutrients that the plants require. The second reason is that the water is less likely to be absorbed into the soil. The water is just runs off the surface, the same way that it runs off over your palm, like this. It's not absorbed into your palm. Same happens in the compacted soil. So when water runs over, the plants still remain thirsty. So how does the soil become compacted? There could be different reasons. You might have left your soil patch stay bare over the long period of time and over the winter. When soil stays bare, open, and not overplanted, the winds blow away the loosened level of the soil so that only hard and compacted layer remains. And this process causes erosion. Another reason that your soil might be compacted is that you might be living in a newly built house and there are still construction debris in the soil, and because modern builders take out the top layer of the soil and remove it completely before building up the house, what remains on the top surface is very compacted clay soil. The third one, and most probable reason why your soil is compacted, is because you are stepping on the soil lots of times. You maybe let your kids play between your plants. That's actually, I suspect, it happened in my yard too, so that I step over between the plants when I walk to take care of them or when I water them. So not intentionally, the soil becomes compacted without me noticing that. How are we going to fight this compacted soil and how to loosen your soil? First and foremost, try to till the soil as less as possible, or do not till at all. The tilling of the soil destroys the structure of the soil. It destroys ecosystem that was built with these necessary elements: organic materials, water, and air. Those microorganisms that constantly, all the time, work between each other, they have built an ecosystem for you. When you till the soil, when you turn over the clumps of the soil, you break up the system and you expose layers of the soil to the erosion. The second tip is to keep your activities that put pressure on the soil to the minimum. If you have to step into the garden beds, make up the paths that you always step onto, and try to make the paths the way that you can reach all plants from those paths without stepping between the plants. Of course, this problem does not persist when you have a raised bed, but when you grow in the ground, that could be your good tip to get rid of the compacted soil. The third and very important tip is that you have to apply the compost. When you apply the compost, you mix the top layer of the soil with the new compost that you're adding. That's the minimum tilling that is beneficial to your garden beds. Tip number 4 is to plant the cover crops. When you have space available between the plantings, or when your garden patch becomes empty, including the overwinter time, plant the cover crops. Cover crops rejuvenate the soil. They provide the nutrients. Plant like radishes as soon as your garden patch becomes empty. Over long term, apply cover crops, white clover or rye, and let them stay over a long period of time, including the overwinter. And last tip that I suggest to loosen the soil is to limit your foot traffic over your garden beds. That's all that I can suggest to you, how to loosen the soil. In the meanwhile, I will aerate this soil around the plants in my beds so that it becomes less compacted.